Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did finish housing, correct?
Yes.
Need one more for quorum. I don't guess it matters. Okay. The next group, there won't be any slides on, but it's the Housing Authority of the Delaware Tribe pass-through. You notice the funding appears to be a decrease from 08. However, the 09 budget only contains 1 year of block grants, where the 08 contained the 06 and the 07 IHP funds. And that's the only variance in that group. Moving into the leadership, which is basically information systems. IS constitutes 96% of this department's budget. And you can see that they're relatively flat compared to the 08. Spending's gone up from the 07, but this is all IS department. Big service group, obviously predominantly funded by the indirect cost pool because of the nature of its service as a resource to all, or not service, but a resource to all the programs.
Someone here to speak for that?
Well, I called Todd. If there's any questions, he should be over soon.
If you have a question.
Is it all right? Are you?
Yes.
I'm almost finished. Okay. Their staffing package indicates they've got about 10% in vacant positions and 10% in new positions. There's four vacancies and 4 new positions. They're all information systems, and you can see the chart here that they're in addition to their previous budget and funding levels of the past. The IS department itself is requesting a 3% increase, $220,000 over the 08 budget, and a $1.2 million increase over 07's actuals. The increase in the department is related to the staffing levels, which is driving both of these variances, as well as some contract services compared to 07 that are in the 09 budget of about $500,000. The leadership group, which is this group's what it's named after, has a 4% increase. It's a small group, has 1 person in it, and it's not really changing its budget at all. And it wasn't in existence in 07, so there's no comparative data. And that completes my review for this group.
Ms. Fraley, you have some questions? Do we
Yes.
need to table this until?
I just need to ask one about some equipment. Callie, I don't know if I should ask you or who.
I can try to answer. Maybe by the time I stumble, he'll be here.
It's not that we don't want to share over here and here in tribal council, but the Anycast switches, they use ours, and I hate to see it losing the building, because if they ever drop it, I mean, it's dropped whether we drop it.
Okay. Okay.
And I don't know, I think that's around
Let me
$16,000 or $17,000.
Let me just say you're way beyond my capabilities of answering, so that one will have to wait for Todd.
Okay, I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll
Okay.
just take that question.
Okay. Dr. Cobb.
You said that, and this may be a question for Todd too, there's 1 person in that leadership group,
Yes.
and they budgeted in 08 $278,000 and they spent 14% of it. Like I said, most of the times there are reasons for that, but I'd just like to know what the reason for only spending 14% of your budget is.
It's because it was a new initiative in 08, a new group, moving Todd into the leadership initiative. And because it took a while to recruit his replacement for the group leader for management resources, effectively that position sat there vacant until that was hired. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If there's no other questions, we'll move forward and come back to this when Todd arrives. Okay.
Okay, the next group is the Tax Commission. See the Tax Commission budget showing a slight decrease. We do need to point out that the $8.3 million unexpended section of this chart is related to the absence of the motor vehicle tax transfers of the apportioned reserves for schools, roads, and law enforcement. These are all discretionary dollars and tribal dollars, tax dollars. Let's look at it from a funding source. See the motor vehicle taxes is driving this. Gen funds decreasing. The staffing package, however, you'll see a revenue decrease on this, on the tax commission as well. There's 5 new FTEs positions in this budget, and it's all in the tag office. You see that they've been ramping up for several years, and they continue to see an increased operating and staffing level out of the tax commission. The budget itself is, compared to 08 budgets, decreasing by about 10% or $900,000. Now we need to take a look at this, and we need to exclude a couple of items, and that's the transfers of funds and the reserves of the funds. And you'll notice on page 1 of my review, I've taken out the diluting effect of the transfers and reserves and shown that budget to budget, the operating budget is increased by $400,000 over 08 and nearly $800,000 over 07. The $400,000 increase over 08 budget is in staffing and related salary fringe cost of $242,000 of it. It's somewhat overshadowed by the reduction in the transfers. The total tax commission revenues, however, are decreasing by approximately $2 million, but the budget for operating costs are continuing to increase. Again, the program is experiencing significant recurring staffing increases while at the same time budgeting dramatic decreases in several types of tax revenues. The salary and fringes alone are more than $447,000 or 38% above just 07's last year actual spending. It's resulting in a decrease in the law enforcement apportionment, which is driven by the net revenues that are left over. Law enforcement's calculated off of the net tag revenues after their operating expenses are taken out. So as we see that number going down, the law enforcement apportionment will go down, as well as the contribution to the general fund or the tribal coffer, which is everything that's left after that. So the net income, so to speak, that falls out to the gen fund will be reducing too, because the revenues are going down, the operating expenses are going up. That completes my review.
Yeah, share around talk to this, because if revenue's going down and operating costs will keep going up.
Actually,
Twice as much as it was in actual.
Sharon was not available to be here. I believe a representative from the tax commission is on his way over. I do know that one thing that has impacted the ramp up of expenses is opening the field offices. If you compare back to like 06, I think we only had one field office then. But anyway, that's part of the ramp up. Another part of it is probably attributable to she has some significant turnover in that office. So if you look at what was actually spent in 07 versus budget for 09, there might be a huge increase there, but it's not really requesting that many additional staffing. But yes, expenses are going up at a higher rate than revenue. If you break it apart, motor vehicle tax has a slight increase in revenue projections. I think it's about 6%. Other taxes, which is primarily tobacco tax, are going down significantly. And that, as I mentioned in my overview, is just a big unknown right now.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, when they get over here, can they address it a little more? Or are they going to say anything about it? Because I'm looking at the...
When they arrive, we'll move back. Are there any other questions on the tax commission?
Mr. Enlow is here,
Yes.
if you want to go back to the...
Yes. We will. Mr. Enlow, thanks for coming over. Ms. Reddy, you have a question?
Todd, I don't know what is in your budget for equipment, et cetera, and I don't know what your policy is covering equipment, but I've asked the staff here not to let equipment out of the building, and these, any cash switchers,
Yes.
they use ours some, and if we ever drop that, we'll be out of luck if they don't have any more money.
I've heard he's like that.
Is there money in your budget to buy another one?
Yeah, we're looking at replacing those because we're getting more and more events that happen, one at 2 and the next one at 4, and it's across town. We do have a couple of those, but we were planning on trying to acquire some more for next year.
Just going to use ours up until you get yours? Or
Yeah, basically.
What about the Go Stream?
Go Stream,
Go Stream box.
same thing. Mhm. So that way, our hope is to leave this one here.
Okay, great.
And we'd like to leave the one in the council chambers and then have one that floats for different community events or a live streaming event like the parade and State of the Nation and stuff like that.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. When will you have it?
Our plan is to get it right after we get approved budget in 1st of October. So,
So you don't need a
couple,
budget amendment?
no.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Cobb, you got a question? Yours was answered. Okay. Okay. Thanks very much, Mr. Enlow.
Thank you.
Since we're waiting the tax commission, we'll move forward to the election commission.
Okay, the Election Commission has a $325,000 budget, slight increase over last year. The 08 budget, as you can tell, it appears to be projecting at about half its approved budget level. Obviously, 2007 is related to the election. And, as you know, the funding source for this program is all general fund. This is all tribal dollars. I'm not sure, I was looking at it, I wasn't able to really tell what was driving the projected 52% utilization of their budget in 08, because they don't appear to have a lot of vacant positions. I mean, there's only 3 in the budget, and they're full. They're all filled. So,
There's some vacancies in the commissioners.
in the what?
Commissioners.
Does the commission get paid
That's small.
stipends during a non-election year?
When they meet, I know that's part of it.
Okay. So it's a real underutilization? Okay. Let's see. Election. It's a 5% budget increase compared to the 08 level, which only equates to 15,000. And obviously, it's a significant decrease compared to 07, where the election year occurred. And like I said, the staffings remain constant. Pretty much all I can add to that. Dr. Cotton.
When I'm looking at this budget for 09, how much of that is carryover from the 08 budget?
None.
So, again, in most instances, there's a really good reason why a budget is underutilized. But, again, I'm going to ask the question, you half your budget from 08.
I'm not as familiar with this budget as some of the others. I do know that we pay a small stipend to our commissioners, and we had some vacancies on the board for a while on the election commission, so that may be one contributor. I think one other project that had been discussed was some contract services for working with something like the Charter Commission to see if there's anything we can do to help our voter turnout. And I don't think those funds have been expended.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think they always need reserve because they never know when be a council person were to pass and they need to have a special election or a petition or a special election to call, they need to be able to react and have the funds to do that. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
so maybe they don't need as much budget now.
Okay. Contracts.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the election commission? It's in conference. Right.
That'd be a special election. If you're the person that-
It's
Beautiful. I'm glad you could join us on the last one that you got
it's back in.
Just giving you a hard time.
Okay.
Okay. This is the division we've been looking for. Cherokee Publication. The Phoenix has about a little over $1 million budget. As you notice, the spending has been relatively flat. Does have about a 20-25% budget increase over the 08 projected spending level and the 07 spending level. Cherokee Phoenix, or the Cherokee Publication, is funding the split between the general fund and the indirect cost pool on a 60-40 ratio. As you can see, the increases on the general fund. Here's the staffing for salaries. Does have one new FTE in it and 2 vacant. It's driving those increases. Again, this program is 60% tribal funded. It's requesting an 8% budget increase, $74,000, and a 19% increase, or $164,000 over the 07 actual spending. And both of those variances are due to the increased staffing in that department.
Do we fund this completely, or do they make any money from sales of their newspapers, or sales of their ads, or?
Yes, they have subscription income on their budget.
How much is it?
You know off the top of your head?
Oh, no.
I may have a report that can tell them on the revenue. $98,300.
Is there a point where this group anticipates that they can make enough money to run on their own and be truly independent?
I don't believe so, because the revenue that they generate is nowhere near what it costs to publish a monthly newspaper.
Well,
Excuse me.
I'm hearing that hundreds of newspapers, if not thousands of newspapers, get sent out monthly and are coming back.
Now, that I'm not familiar with. I know that they, excuse me, they did go through and really scrub their mailing list a couple of years ago. It may have improved. I can get someone from the publications over here if you have some specific questions you want.
My concern is I want them to truly be independent. And it's hard to say you have an independent newspaper when you're still subsidizing 80 to 90% of their costs.
Well,
the hand that feeds you, it's awful hard to bite that hand.
well, and I understand and appreciate that, but I don't see it as any different than the Election Commission. It's 100% funded by the government, yet it's an independent commission. Excuse me. The Cherokee Phoenix has an editorial board, and they give direction to the editor. Excuse me. Thank you. So,
Would there be the possibility that they would entertain a thought to maybe at least charge a small sum for their newspaper?
And I believe they try to do that that's where some of their subscription income is from.
I mean, everywhere you go,
Yeah,
there's racks for their newspaper.
Right.
Everywhere where I buy a newspaper now, they've got a rack. It's free. I
And-
see people stick their hand in there and get
3 or 4.
20 of them,
Mhm.
you know, and walk to their car.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing with them. I guess they may be rolling them up, using them for firewood or something. Oh, I don't think you'd want to read the same article 20 times.
Well, maybe you have 20 family members. But I don't foresee them being a break even in terms of covering all their costs unless they started charging a significant amount for subscriptions and increased the advertising rates and made a lot of changes.
Well, it seems to me, since these are all tribal dollars, that it might not be too much to ask them to look at their advertising prices, look at a small charge for the newspaper. I mean, these are tribal dollars that are not going to services because they're going to the newspaper. And I'm all for the newspaper. I support it 100%, and I want to see it be independent. But I'm all for them also trying to collect all they can so that that's less dollars that we're using of our tribal money.
Well, and just to clarify, it's 60% tribal dollars, 40% indirect cost, which effectively is part federal dollars because it's part of the indirect cost pool.
And the other concern that I would have is you got 2 vacant positions and we're trying to add another one. It goes back to that old, you know, if you can't fill the 2 you got, why are you getting another one?
Yeah. If you would like, I could contact Brian Pollard and ask him to come over. And he's the,
Well, it might not be a bad idea just to
Okay.
ask him what he's doing to generate more income.
okay.
Mr. Garvin.
My question was answered, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Wise.
I actually did speak to the editor, Mr. Pollard, and asked him about the issue with the newspapers coming back because I had heard out of my own post office and other post offices about the piles. And they did an initiative going through and actually having a professional addressing company look at the list and clean those up and send out. They did things in the newspaper. They did the list cleaning and they did something else, and those are supposed to be addressed. I heard about it again after that, and he's following up with U.S. Postmasters again to make sure that that's not continuing now, because I do think that is a concern.
Okay. Mrs. Fishing-Hawk.
Yeah, I was about to say, even if they done that last month, my post office goes away 2/3 of what got sent out.
Yes,
I'll
Mr.
just,
Clerk.
when they were talking about the newspapers coming back, what do they mean by newspapers coming back? If they mailed out or whatever kind of? I mean, they don't pay the right postage rate to get them sent back, huh?
I'm aware that they had an issue with bad addresses.
Well, Kelly, 4, 5, 6 years, whenever, before I retired from the post office, we took it upon ourselves to send them a corrected address for everybody in Stillwell where the address was bad, because we were literally throwing 40 to 50% of them in the trash every time they mailed them out. And we watched after that. I checked with the carriers after that. I don't think they ever cleaned it up and fixed it. You know.
It was my understanding that they did do
That was
some
a long
cleanup.
time.
I don't know how recent
Yeah.
that was.
And that's a lot of waste.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
Ms. Jordan.
Well, one thing you could do is just don't send any of them, and then wait for the people to call you and say, hey, where's my newspaper? Then develop your list from that. Then you're going to get a real accurate list of who reads and wants your newspaper.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any other
Yeah, really.
questions on Cherokee Publications? Or we're waiting for Mr. Pollard? Now we have someone from the Tax Commission. Okay, you're coming over. And Ms. Fishing-Hawk had a question on the Tax Commission.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Andy Queaton. I'm a systems administrator for the tax commission. So I think I know pretty much everybody here, though, except for that guy back there.
Ms. Fisher?
Talk about your operating expenses going up.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that?
Well, you know, we have the satellite offices. So we have 3 satellite offices, and it's expense there with that. We also have, right now we have almost a full staff, but the expense of the satellite offices, you guys know how rent, electricity, gas, have all that. Then we have somebody that travels there, probably to all the satellite offices. Somebody's going there 3 times a week usually for supplies. I go for computer problems, things of that nature. I would assume that with the cost of everything else going up, the satellite offices, I would assume that's probably our biggest expense, is our satellite offices and maintaining those. We have we have Gore, Collinsville, and Adair. I can't even think. Thank you, guys.
How many since last year?
I don't think we've added any. I think we may have we added an extra staff at Adair.
So the $250,000 is for the satellite offices?
That plus the regular expenses of things going up. I think our tags, buying our tags, the price of our tags have gone up a little bit. The paper that we buy has gone up a little bit for all our receipts. We've had some major computer issues that have gone up. I know.
My concern is because your net affects the law enforcement.
I understand that.
$250,000 increase in salaries.
Yeah.
Budget.
Yeah.
$1 million over 7.
So, yeah, salaries is a lot of that too. I do know that we incurred a pretty good cost with the electric problem that we had at the tag office. We had to replace several computers with that and a couple of printers. With the surge, it burned a lot of that stuff up. But honest, Doug showed me there that the salaries has eaten a lot of that up.
So it's for the new employees,
Yeah.
which is how many? 5?
5, I think it is 5, yes ma'am. Yeah, I think so.
Got 3 in the,
Yeah.
I don't know how many
Mr. Garber?
Where do you buy your tags?
They come from the prison in Hominy. That's who makes them.
You don't get them in Big Mac, not McAllister.
No, we get them through the women in Hominy make them, I believe. Yes, sir.
Women make them.
Yeah, they're female-made tag.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ms. George?
Yes, where are the new 5 staff positions going to be located at?
For the satellite offices, Gore and Collinsville, and
How
then
many is each one of them getting?
and then they'll get 1 each.
1 each?
Yeah, and then the rest will be at Tahlequah.
Okay. Where are we going to put them at Tahlequah?
Well, that's an ongoing thing that we've had. We're working on getting our new building built one of these days. We've been promised, we just kind of cram them where we can because of the facility we're in. We don't have a whole lot of choice, but we also get a lot of pressure of speed of our customers. You know, they want to get them in and out as fast as we can. And in order to do that, we have to increase our staff because of the amount of paperwork it comes. The more staff we have, the faster our customers are going to come in and out. And right now, we kind of stick them wherever we can. I mean, we got 1 bathroom we've converted into an office for a girl. So it's not like we have plenty of space to move. And every time another room comes available in the motel, we always try to snatch it up so we can, kind of relieve that because it gets a little hard for 4 girls in one office to get along 24/7. So.
Combination bathroom office?
Yes, it is. Except they had to remove the toilet to make room, so now she has to go back around the corner.
The tag increase through the prison system, you don't remember about what that was?
No, I don't. I don't. I just know that the tags went up some.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, it's just the cost of the supplies and that stuff. Your labor's not much there.
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Queaton?
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Mr. Chairman, if I just give you an update, Brian Pollard is on his way over. He was in town, and he estimated he could be here in about 10 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, If it, I'm on the other side before I
Just want to remind the council about the proposed amendment sheet that Callie presented yesterday.
then I don't need. At this time, I move to take proposed changes off the table that we tabled early on toward the end of the budget hearings. That is the recommendation from Callie, and I move to bring that off the table.
Second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded to bring the proposed changes off the table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Call for question.
I move to approve these things.
Point of order. That motion was already made by me and seconded, I believe, by Mr. Bartman or somebody.
Okay.
And it was just brought back off the table. Okay. Okay. And the question's been called. And these are the proposed changes that Callie had asked for in the budget. So, since the question's been called,
I don't have my paper there, I just wondered what it was again. I think I remember all of them.
Restate the motion.
okay. The motion is that the 2009 budget be revised for the motor fuel tax carryover, add $2 million for contract help. For the general fund carryover, add $200,000 for the self-help water lines. And this also from the general fund is reduce unappropriated reserve to fund year one of Cherokee Scholars Program by $70,000. And from the general fund, reduce unappropriated reserve to fund individual water and sanitation, $500,000. From the general fund, reduce unappropriated reserve to fund economic development, $50,000. So the total JIT fund adjustments is $820,000, and the motor fuel tax carryover is $2 million to contract help. That's the motion that's on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Mr. Baker.
Sure. I'd move that we recess for 10 minutes or so, waiting on Brian, so that Calvin and Doug can full balance this budget.
10 minutes, huh?
10 minutes. Go up for $4 million.
Second.
All in favor of recessing say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.